Zachary Levi here in the heart of London's famous West End. Behind me is BAFTA, the British Academy for Film and Television Arts. Why are we here? Excellent question. For starters, Tomb Raider, the series, has garnered a lot of love and accolade from BAFTA over the years. Some of the key players on Crystal's dev team are BAFTA LA members. And to top it all off, legendary video game composer Jason Graves is a BAFTA winner. We're going to catch up with him in just a bit, but first, a little trip to Raleigh, North Carolina, where we go behind the scenes at Jason's recording studio. These are the final hours of Tomb Raider.
First thing we did was the theme. There have been many composers in the games or the films, but they've always used the original theme. They said, we want to start with a clean slate, new theme. I did it on piano, very simple. I was really scared just to send it because I'm like, I don't know, I think this really works, I think I like it. We ended up taking that exact theme. The first demo I sent was on the first trailer. That exact same arrangement.
So, Jason, currently you're working on this reimagining of Tomb Raider. When you're taking on a new project, what are the things that attract you to that project? The heritage of a particular game, I think, obviously.
And don't even get me started on Tomb Raider. I literally almost drove off the road. I was on the phone with the audio director. Like, oh, stoplight! And I had to pull over a little bit to not hit the car behind me. What I loved about Tomb Raider, what really drew me to the project was they had no pre-existing conditions.
Because they wanted to get out of what it used to be.
They wanted something new. They wanted something fresh.
Jason's done hundreds of games at this point. He was an easy choice for us to go with on paper because he has such great experience. I listened through a lot of different material from a lot of different composers. I was really taken by how well he did the intimate stuff. The textures and the real, intimate and vulnerable bits that we needed to highlight in the game were a great match for us.
What is square one for you when you start wrapping your head around it going, this is where I feel like this world is going to exist?
Main thing, call me old-fashioned. Then it was a matter of finding out what kind of percussion would work. And always going back to the melody and the theme, because that's kind of the heart of the game.
The most signature thing that we need to get right is Lara's theme. One of our big goals was that it can be used in any emotional context. What does it sound like? High action. What does it sound like when she's in pain?
For music, the gameplay and the concept art, especially with the scavengers and kind of the shanty town, corrugated metal, how everything's kind of this amalgam of different stuff that they found on the island. It's like, that's what I want the music to sound like. The bad guys are playing the music now. Alex said something like, it'd be really cool to have something, chains on a metal board or like you're banging a metal fence.
2 weeks later, Jason calls me up and he's like, so this guy who's like this sculptor who lives right around the corner from me, I was talking to him about the idea of creating an instrument. And I'm like, that sounds completely insane. We have to do that.
Tackling the score to one of the most iconic franchises in the world brought a unique challenge. How best to capture the emotional timbre of the characters and island in music? People, I give you the instrument.
The instrument. I was going to let Matt determine the aesthetics. I was really only concerned about the sound that the sculpture was going to make. Matt built this, which looks pretty much exactly like Laura's original homemade bow in the game. There's different timbres based on different materials. Metal, glass. It's a direct line from the plot, the characters, the story, the environment, straight to the sculpture.
We always wanted the island to have that character in itself. Creating an instrument gave it this unique identity.
It's got a voice.
Yeah.
The very beginning of the game is nothing but the instrument.
Who do you look at in video games or in film that you go, what they've done has shaped who I am and what I do for a living?
They're all dead, unfortunately.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's classical composers.
All classical?
Yeah, I'm kind of going directly back to the source.
Yeah.
Prokofiev, Tchaikovsky. Even for some of the scary stuff, you've got Penderecki, who's a Polish composer. Actually, he's still alive. It kind of goes back to ballets or opera, which is kind of the precursor to film and video games. You know, they were telling a story. That's what I love about that music. It tells a story. Even if you don't know the plot, you can listen to it. And film music's the same way.
It's tough with games to do things that are subtle. You want to make Lara relatable, make her realistic. Tell her story from the beginning and show how she became the superhero she becomes.
One of the first things that I ask any developer is the emotion. Because to me, that's the biggest thing that music can do in a tenth of a second. The music just, it nails the emotion.
Wow, that was amazing, huh? I personally don't think I've ever sounded so good in an interview before. Although Jason, Jack, and Alex are audio savants, so that would make perfect sense. I cannot wait to jump into this game, not just for the amazing action, but the emotion and mood and tone that they're going to set with their incredible skill. Tune in next time for a special secret announcement that is going to change the way you play Tomb Raider forever. See you soon. Hey everybody, Zachary Levi here. Over the last few months, we've brought you exclusive behind-the-scenes looks at the final hours of development of Tomb Raider. You've seen Camilla recording her last few lines, Rihanna musing her last few words, and Jason completing the last few notes of the score. As those key pieces lock into place, it's time to reveal one of the last portions of the game and a team that's been shrouded in secrecy for 2 years. We're here in the beautiful and freezing Montreal, Canada, to bring you the final hours of Tomb Raider multiplayer edition. These are the final hours of Tomb Raider. Welcome to yet another world-class studio in the Square Enix portfolio, Eidos Montreal, home of the multi-award-winning game Deus Ex. Locked away in one of the far corners of the studio is a team of experienced, passionate professionals who have been specially brought together to create the first ever multiplayer component to the Tomb Raider universe. Let's meet the team behind the vision, direction, and decisions, and hopefully get a chance to play a few rounds. Here we are at Eidos Montreal. Before we get into why we're here, Carl, you now have an amazing stash, my friend. What is the impetus behind this?
As a studio, we've been participating in Movember. A good friend of mine, JJ Owens, works for Movember in LA. We set up the gaming challenge and we brought studios from all around the world together. I think so far we've raised somewhere in the region of $140,000, $150,000.
Well done.
Been a big success, although my wife doesn't necessarily always approve.
She hates it?
Oh, my wife wakes up in the morning.
She says that she hates it. She secretly loves it. What were some of the factors that led to a multiplayer facet to this new Tomb Raider?
When we started developing sort of our vision for reimagining Tomb Raider, on paper, it was all about single player. And as we started to build that world out, we had the island, we had the Solarian, the scavengers. We started to realize that we had this canvas.
Great warring factions, great landscapes.
Yeah, we had all these really awesome places where it was all about traversal and single player. When we started looking at that, we thought, wow, well, what about multiplayer?
Part of the genesis of that was Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light that kind of cracked open a door to lead you guys into the multiplayer into here at Eidos Montreal.
Guardian Light was a downloadable, a smaller scale project, and that allowed us to sort of take the risks that we wouldn't necessarily take on a full-blown project.
Guardian of Light was our Pixar short. It's the idea that whilst you're building your big project, you're always thinking about that next thing, but also allowed us to be able to start understanding co-oping and networking. It was a game that actually brought Tomb Raider fans together for one of the very first times. You hear them in their ear and they were having fun. And as a result of that, that led to us thinking about multiplayer.
Hopefully our single-player experience we're delivering is a very sort of single-player, solitary, immersive type of experience. But at the same time, we believed tomb raiding together with friends would be fun.
Tomb raiding, I think that's the first time I've ever heard that term. I like that.
It's fun. You know, axe climbing and zip lining and the traversal that we get in there and the traps. For me, it was very sad to have that catch-22 of it would be great to do this in multiplayer, but we just can't split our resources like that.
And that's how Eidos Montreal came about. We had staffed up our teams to develop a single player. Everybody was gelling together really well, and it wasn't something that we wanted to just bolt on. We always said if we were going to do it, We gotta do it right.
If you could have a fan play the multiplayer for the first time, what do you want them saying?
For me, they're kind of different moods. It's not like I do one or the other. It's kind of like sometimes I turn down the lights and just play that single player experience. And other times I want to just jump in and have fun and start counting fools.
Joe Curry, producer of multiplayer on Tomb Raider. It's the first time Tomb Raider has ever incorporated multiplayer, and you're in charge of that.
Yeah.
What's running through your mind when you get that call?
Well, first off, exciting, right? I mean, we're all huge fans of Tomb Raider on the team. I mean, we grew up with Lara Croft. But when we spoke to Crystal, like, we want to do multiplayer, and we're thinking, how do you do that? It's always been Lara's story.
You've been in charge of creating the first ever Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
No pressure.
Multiplayer.
No pressure, Zach. Thank you.
What are some of the main pillars that you brought over from the single player to the multiplayer to make those two worlds cohesive?
The element that really stuck out was survival. The group surviving together.
Right.
But then traversal, the ability to go up and down and kind of everywhere in a level. The weapons, you know, the characters.
What did you guys have to tweak in order to create an engaging multiplayer experience that wouldn't necessarily work with the pieces that were in play with the single player experience?
One example is the bow. Especially in the reboot, it's so iconic that we had to make it work for multiplayer. You have a certain forgiveness when you play single player. Multiplayer, players expect snappiness. I shoot you, I expect you to go down, or you can just do what I do, which is take out the biggest gun and just run for them and shoot them out. The environment itself can be a threat. The Solari, you know, the guys that are on the island have had a chance to prepare traps. We've got things like an ammo box that looks like an ammo box, but it's really an explosive device.
I need ammo, and it looks just like the regular ammo box, and then you're gonzo.
We have a lightning rod. You'll get a lightning strike on the rod, and then you'll eliminate your enemy. First and foremost, we want to be humble. We want players to just have a really memorable experience. I had fun doing this. Do you remember when we set that trap? Moments that the players will come back to and talk about experiences that they've had for themselves, not necessarily the game offering them experiences.
Absolutely. So, Joe, behind us we have the QA team, or the quality assurance team.
They're a part of the development team. They can tell us what we need to fix and what's working and what's not.
When do I get to game test? When do I get to get my hands on the game?
Soon. We got a surprise for you first, Zach.
So, when I was approached to host the final hours of Tomb Raider, essentially the biggest ask, not even ask, tell that I had was, I want to be in the game. I want to have a cameo, I want to have something. So guess what? Boom! 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 I'm a playable character in the multiplayer Tomb Raider. How sick is that, Joe? You and your team are awesome. I can play with myself, virtually. Are we ready? Oh, that burns. You suck. Get those transmitters running. Radio transmitter activated. We're getting off this damn island? We send this sailor.
Beautiful.
I would like to try and kick your butt as me in this map right now. Should we try it? All right.
Bring it.
Let's do it. It's happening right now. Oh, nice! Was that one of my traps?
That was one of your traps.
Yeah! These movie traps are really fun. I mean, they're really, really fun. Yeah! Don't worry about it. Just because you made the game and I beat it. As you can see from the people and passion here at Eidos Montreal, this isn't just some add-on. They're devoting themselves to making this an experience in keeping with the feeling of single player. Familiar, yet different. Coming up in the final 2 episodes of our series, we go back to the home of Lara Croft. They're taking Tomb Raider to the finish line, and we'll be there for it.